Hello, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Scottie Richardson. Welcome to another episode of Wrestler Weekly Presents. This is episode 7, and this is 1982. Now, what's special about 1982? Well, a lot happened. And remember, with the magazines, part of the early months of 82 were actually the action of 1981. So a lot of times the magazines may be 3-4 months behind, and we're going to talk about that in this episode. This is going to be part 1 of 3, and I had so many magazines in 1982 that I decided I'm going to split this up, and I'm going to take my time. So you're not going to see 10 or 11 magazines in this episode. You're only going to see 5, and I'm going to spotlight 4 of the 5, and you know the drill. The 5th one will be in the bonus episode. And so this will be, by the way, the last free bonus episode, because in episode 8, which is part 2, and episode 9, which will be part 3 of 1982, I'm going to have some special guests, and you don't want to miss that. But this episode, before we get cranked up here, I'd like to give a shout out to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network. My buddies Nick and Myron, shout out goes to you guys. Follow these guys on Twitter as well as Facebook. They have a lot of things going on. Podcasts are great. They always have great guests, including my good buddy Tommy Wildfire Rich, who they had on recently. And so this is it. Part 1, 1982, Wrestler Weekly Presents. And where are we going to start? We're going to start in May of 82. In this episode, I'm going to spotlight just a few magazines, but here's the deal. The magazines I spotlight are going to be world champions. We're going to talk about world champions in 1982, the end of 81 into 1982. This one says Bob Backlund's 4th anniversary as WWF champion. Now think about that. Let that sink in. Because a lot of newer fans, I mean, we hardly can put up with Jinder Mahal for a week, much less, 4 years. This is into 4 years now. Bob Backlund with the WWF title and signed, and the All-American boy grows up. What a great mag. As a kid, I remember seeing this magazine and just looking at it, and being a kid my dad was a Vietnam vet. Both my grandfathers fought in World War II. And so just having that military background with family and how special that was, and to see Bob Backlund in front of the American flag. And so as a kid, very patriotic. Now, about this magazine. And I said, I'm going to take my time on this episode, and I'll probably spotlight a few things that are inside the magazines. And by the way, this right here, how special. If you're a kid and you remember this, I talk about it quite often, but there's Ric Flair and Superstar Billy Graham. But all these are magazine covers. You've seen just about every one of those magazine covers signed here at Wrestler Weekly Presents. And so here, I like this one. Look at what it says. The strange appearance of Superstar Graham. Now remember, the last time you saw Superstar Billy Graham, he had the blonde hair, he had no facial hair, he had the tie-dye pants, and this is May of 1982, and look what's inside here. The strange appearance of Superstar Graham. Notice he's got the tie-dye still, but look at this. What a different look it was for Superstar Billy Graham. And then what's funny is it says, word was out. This is going to be story time, by the way. This is story time with Scottie. And word was out. Word was out. Superstar Graham had died. The obituary had been written and was set to go to press until a most unusual phone call from Pennsylvania drastically altered the course of events. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually post this article, and this is Superstar Billy Graham and Bruiser Brody. Look at that photo. Superstar Graham, Bruiser Brody. Here's some other stuff. I'm going to actually post this on my Twitter at Wrestler Weekly. And if you follow us on Instagram or Facebook as well, try to post it there. But what a great mag this is to get us started with part 1 of 1982. You ready for you ready for magazine number 2, part 1? Here we go. Now this one, you talk about historic. Now historic. And last week, you remember if you watched the bonus episode of episode 6, you heard the story about Brent Hardison and me getting a nice haul of wrestling mags. Well, Brent signed this one, but it's also signed by Greg Valentine. Look at this one. It says, why Greg Valentine is the rightful WWF champion. Now, this is Inside Wrestling from February of 1982. Bob Backlund versus Greg Valentine. Now, if you don't remember this historic event, this happened in Madison Square Garden, and it happened actually in October of 81, but here it shows up in February of 82 in the mags. Not a lot of people knew this. If you were not in the New York area, in the WWF area, you had no idea that this even happened. But what an angle back then with this match, Madison Square Garden, and in the match, and you can go out and search this video, but in the match, Greg Valentine picks up Bob Backlund and puts him in an airplane spin. Well, the back of Backlund's foot catches the referee, knocks him down. And when it happened, when they fell to the ground, Backlund fell on top of Valentine. The referee is kind of dazed, so he counts 1, 2, 3. And Valentine, who was pinned, jumps up with his arms in the air. And so the referee raises the wrong man's hand. They both have on black tights, as you can see. And the referee gives the belt to the wrong man. Now, according, as it says in the article, but also some of the WWF rules back then, whoever was named the winner was the winner. And so that's why you see Greg Valentine wearing the WWF title. What a historic event. But let's go inside the mag really quick, because there's something in here that is so... First, let's look at the inside. You know I like to do that. But look what's missing. There's no WWF champion. What they did was they upheld the title, and then they had a rematch of which Backlund won. And what a great angle, because they picked up, there was about a little over 18,000 people in attendance, Madison Square Garden for the first match, 21,000 plus to see the second. So just great angle and great marketing. Also, Ric Flair with the title. We're going to talk about that in a second, so just hold on. And then obviously Nick Bockwinkel, AWA champ. But let me show you what's inside this mag, because it is great. Here we go. Why Greg Valentine is the rightful WWF champion. I mean, this would have been late 81, so early 82. That's a what if. It's a what if. But we know what happened in September of 81, and that's when Ric Flair won his first NWA World title. But can you imagine? Look at this setup. I mean, these are former World Tag Team Champions in the Mid-Atlantic area, Greg Valentine and Ric Flair, and here they are, February of 82 in the mags, late 81. Could you imagine with these two guys being world champions? That would have been awesome, especially for me growing up in the Mid-Atlantic, growing up with these guys, to see those. That would have been awesome. And so I can't help but to think that when the NWA decided to make the change and put this man, a lot of glare there we go, to put this man in the 10 pounds of gold, I cannot help but wonder. This happened September of 1981, September 17th, happened in Kansas City, Missouri. And Ric Flair defeats Dusty Rhodes. We're going to talk about that in a second. But this happened in September. They decided to put the flamboyant nature boy Ric Flair in the NWA World title. But then think about this. Just a month later, they do an angle where Greg Valentine, former tag partner, both guys strutting down the aisle, got the robes going. I mean, it would have been great, especially back then, because you got to remember there was a pretty good relationship where Harley Race would wrestle Bob Backlund, Harley Race wrestled superstar Billy Graham. And so could you imagine if these two guys wrestled each other with world titles? I mean, it's something to think about. Now, this is a PWI, October of 82, Ric Flair's startling confession, I hate being champion. I hate being champion. Well, that didn't last long because this man loved being champion. I got two more. We're going to wrap up our episode. We're going to jump over to the bonus episode. But these two are two of my favorites. This is Inside Wrestling, January of 82, and then PWI, February of 82. And these are the first two mags with Ric Flair when he won the NWA World title. So the Inside Wrestling, this is January and this is February. And I can tell you both of these mags are really rare. It's hard to find. If you do find them, they're probably going to be a little expensive. If you can find one cheap, then you're the champion. But this is we're going to talk. This is going to be our bonus. We're going to talk about that. Actually, we'll do both of them in the bonus episode. But just real quick, new NWA champ Ric Flair. Which way will he take the title? And so just and then the Ric Flair versus Harley Race. The price of being champion is blood. And so you put these three. I know we're getting a lot of glare today. My apologies. But there's all three of Ric Flair's 1982 NWA World title mags. And so lucky to have these signed by the man. And so we're going to talk about this one later. So I'm going to spotlight this one here. And we'll probably talk about them both. Why not? But I hope you have enjoyed. I know it's been kind of a speed. It's been quick today. Part one of 1982. I mean, these are just awesome. This whole era is like right in the wheelhouse. And so hopefully you see my passion coming out. I know you enjoy it as well. And so thank you for subscribing. Thank you for following us on our social media at Wrestler Weekly on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And then I'll wrap up by saying we do have some VIP information that is now on our website, WrestlerWeekly.com. There's so many things that we do daily at Wrestler Weekly. And so just to kind of run down quickly, on Sundays, every day that we do a hashtag theme. We do so many different types of themes. Sunday we do a shout out. And this last week was our buddy Scott Bowden, Kentucky Fried Wrestling. We did a Monday Mag memorabilia. We actually did a double shot this week with Paul Jones. And then yesterday we had a great discussion with Wrestler Weekly Tuesday Takeaway, where we talked about Terry Funk was the PWI Wrestler of the Year in 1976. And we talked about some of that. But every day we do something. And I want to give you more information than just a couple tweets. So that's something. We've got giveaways. We've got tons of autographed signed photos and other types of things to give away, action figures, you name it. So go to WrestlerWeekly.com, check out the VIP information and membership and how you can become VIP of Wrestler Weekly. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the bonus episode.